Okay, beginning your truss in Onshape, of course, requires starting a sketch. I'm going to just pick the front plane, P to hide my planes, N to turn it normal, and I'm going to go ahead and make kind of a generic trapezoid real quick. I'm getting the horizontal constraint there, I'm clicking, and I'm going to then type, when the box is around my dimensions, the number 12 for 12 inches. I won't dimension these quite yet, I'll come back and use my dimension tool. Okay, so I've made a shape. I'm going to use the dimension tool to, I think Onshape doesn't want me to. I'm trying to hit escape. I think when I'm using my screen recording, some keys don't work the same. I'm going to dimension using the two endpoints to get the vertical distance between those, and I'm going to make it 4 inches. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to use the equal constraint to make sure the two sides are the same distance. And then I guess what that distance is, I can specify right here, horizontal distance, and I'll make that 3. Okay, so here you go. I've got kind of a basic shape. Now, I don't want this thing to be solid. What I'm going to do for my first step is to make kind of the outer members that'll come back and create the inner pattern of my truss. So I'm going to have a thicker material at the bottom because of how we're going to construct this with the bridge deck and things and glue it together. But I'm going to have all my members be a 1/4 inch with the bottom being a 1/2 inch. Kind of an easy tool for creating parallel lines and creating that offset that you want is this offset tool. I can click on a line segment and it makes a parallel line and gives me the distance between them. If I click that arrow, it'll flip to the other side. And if I connect or select adjoining sides, then those segments will already be connected. So I'm going to go ahead and create a 1/4 inch offset on just those 3 sides. I'm going to hit enter to kind of say, yep, those are the ones I want. It asks me if the dimension's what I want. I could adjust it right now or just hit enter again. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm now going to offset the bottom. I'm going to do it to the top on the top side, and I'm going to hit enter and edit that to be 0.5. Made lines, but those lines, the exact lengths is still not to be determined. So the endpoints are movable. What I want is to bring those 2 points together. So one of the tools for connecting geometry is called the coincident constraint tool. So that's being able to pick a point and constrain it to another point or a line. So I'm going to constrain those 2 points. They already have to be parallel, so they kind of extended until they touch each other. Here they're a little too long, but I'm going to pick that point and this point, and they'll get pulled back until they're connected. Okay, so that's the end of my outer members. I'm going to accept that, and then we're going to use the extrude tool right here, and we're going to select just that profile, and we're going to set a distance of 1/8 of an inch of material. Blind is the choice we should be on right here. It just says kind of, blind is just basically specifying a distance, and we'll say okay. So there you have it. There's your outer truss. To do the inner truss, we're going to start a new sketch on this face, and I'm going to lay out kind of the pattern of the inside or the internal members, like the middle of them. So I'm going to use the line tool. First, I'm going to go ahead and put a line right down the middle here. I guess I could use the offset tool again. Click that. 1/4 inch is what I want. I'm going to accept that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off that tool by clicking on it again. And I'm going to click and drag this and then just let go of it when the line lights up, and it's going to be, the endpoints are going to be kind of stuck on that line, just so they're not floating or moving like that. Okay. I'm going to connect. This is basically trying to picture like the internal kind of pathways of our truss member. I'm going to find the midpoint. Let's go to here. Let's go straight down. I'm paying attention to those little icons that show up, and that should tell me when I'm, horizontal or vertical or hitting midpoints or things like that. Okay. Click on the tool again to turn it off, or your escape key on the keyboard. I'm going to make all these lines be construction lines. To do that, I select them all, so they're all highlighted, because they're not actually the edges of the sketch that we're going to extrude or bring to life. They represent the centers. So I'm going to select them all and then choose this right here where you see a solid and a dashed line with the arrows going back and forth. This lets you toggle making those lines solid or dashed. The dashed really means it's a construction line or just a reference line. So now what I'm going to do is use the offset tool to creating parallel lines. And if I want my member to be 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch, 0.125 to one side. And I will do 0.125, 1/8 of an inch to the other side. I will do this to all my members. Endpoints, kind of a pattern to clicking. So I guess it's click. If the direction's good, I hit enter, and then I can type my new dimension. If I click on the center line and I don't like the direction it went on the side, I click the arrow, and then I hit enter, and then I type again. So it's click, enter, update dimension, or click, adjust direction, enter, edit dimension. Okay. All right, once I'm done with that, I'm now going to connect all these blue. The blue color means that the endpoint's still movable. It's not constrained anywhere. So now I'm going to think about where those lines would have intersected, kind of terminated into other material. Some of them are going to hit an edge of the outside of your truss, while others are going to run into each other. So like the top side of this diagonal is actually going to run into the right side of the vertical, right? And so we want those 2 points. We don't want them to overlap. We just want them to run into each other. All right, so if I'm clicking and dragging and holding it, if I keep my mouse button held down and I hover over that one will light up, and it knows that I'm actually moving this one, and that will create the coincident constraint, and they'll both go to the length they need to be so they intersect and connect at the endpoints. So when I let go of my mouse button is when it did that. Okay, so I'm kind of clicking, dragging, hovering over where I want it to connect, and letting go. Okay, so this line and this line, they're going to meet right at that intersection. So I can grab this, kind of bring it back, and I should be able to go over that point, let go, and boom, it adjusts. Okay, so I'm going to finish this process. Once I've got that finished, we'll finish our sketch and we will extrude. Got students coming back in from lunch. I'm almost done. So I did a pretty simple design so that I could get through this fast. That one's going to go there. This one here is actually going to end there. So I want this point, right? I'll just pull back and make it more obvious. These 2 points are the ones that needed to meet. And then this one there. All right, that should be the last one. Oh, I missed it though. I didn't get the line to highlight. There you go. So they should all turn black. At that point, I'm going to accept my sketch, and I'm going to use the extrude tool. And now I'm going to go choose these internal members. And blind's right. It was 1/8 of an inch of thickness of material. But you got to check the direction. So this is coming towards me when the truss went the other way. So I'm going to hit the arrows, flip it. It's on new. Nope, I want it to add onto the existing truss. So I'm going to have it on add. I'm going to accept, and now I have one solid part. So there's my truss. I should be able to, when done, kind of put my mouse over and highlight the whole thing. Kind of get the whole thing to light up. It should be one piece at this point. Okay, so there is some help in getting your truss started in Onshape.